that was kind of the plan going in, and now it's turned into something else. But it's kind of a unique way to think about real estate. Is you can actually buy something. You hear about all this, and I don't recommend running out to the nearest real estate seminar, no money out of your pocket, sell fest that a lot of them are. But that kind of stuff, it's possible to happen and create wealth out of thin air.
Your network is your net worth. Come listen to some of the most successful people I know share invaluable knowledge, stories, and advice in real estate, business, and beyond. This is Weiss Advice. Whether you want to take your business or personal life to the next level, look no further. Welcome back to another episode of Weiss Advice. I am your host, as always, Yona Weiss, and it's a great day today. I'm glad that you joined us for another episode, and we got a great guest. So I'm excited for this conversation. Josh Carlegis, all the way out in Alabama. What's going on?
Another day in paradise, dodging rainstorms.
Oh, wow. And you've been out in Alabama for quite a while, right? You're born and raised there?
No. So I was born and raised in Houston, and then joined the military, got stationed in North Alabama, and spent probably 18 years there, maybe. And then recently, beginning of this year, moved down to the Gulf Coast, Mobile, Alabama.
Nice.
So haven't found my way back to Texas yet.
All right. I mean, not that far, but it's
no.
Got a good thing going on over there. And just to give everyone a little bit of a context, right? Josh is a real estate investor. Surprise. We actually have a lot of real estate investors on this show. So it shouldn't, nothing new over there. But I love the fact that everyone has a different story. Everyone has a different way that they got there. And everyone does different things within real estate. So he's the co-founder of the SCI Group, which is a real estate investment firm. And, most of your properties are in Alabama, doing multifamily, as well as you got a couple of retail properties, I think, and just doing, living the dream, right? Real estate.
Yeah. It's not bad. There's probably worse places to be.
There are obviously worse places, but I think a lot of the reason why a lot of people get involved in real estate in the first place is because it allows you to, it's a business, right? Like anything else, it's a business. It shouldn't be mistaken for anything, but allows a lot of freedoms and allows you to, create long-term wealth. It obviously has all the tax benefits that come along with it. But what are some of the reasons why you got involved in way back when? I
kind of, for a long time, really since high school, I've kind of always wanted to be involved in real estate. Back when all the the Flip This House and those shows were real popular. I always enjoyed those. I've always enjoyed working with my hands and doing construction and things like that. And so I always wanted to. And of course, back then either you didn't really have the access to the education that we do now with social media and podcasts and the internet and all that. So didn't really know how. I just assumed that you had to have a bunch of money and put 20% down on a house, and you buy it and rent it and save up another chunk of money and do the same thing. So I never really got involved. And then back in 2015, had kind of a good deal at work and got a good bonus for something. And, figured that was the time. I'd bought my house kind of in my personal house, kind of in the peak of the housing market right before it crashed. And so I had that, couldn't sell it. So I'd started renting it out and talked to the agent that sold me my new house. Once I got over that fear that everybody puts in you about, leaky toilets and all this stuff that, as investors we have, but
right.
At the same time, there's ways to make it as painless as possible. So I got in that, kind of got my feet wet, rented my first house, told that agent that I wanted another one, and she brought one and bought it, and then bought a couple more and a couple more and a couple more. And it just kind of, and then I started really educating myself and learning, how to scale everything. Mm. And that's kind of what took it from a fun part-time thing to a full-time profession.
Yeah, for sure. And so at the beginning, you were just literally buying properties, like you had mentioned, with down payment and and I imagine they were not too expensive, right? Single families in Alabama. 5 years ago.
First house we got in for $47,500.
Right.
So, and it rents for like $1,000 a month now. So we still got it. So I actually got in really before I actually knew what it was. I was actually kind of using the BRRRR strategy that everybody, loves to talk about so much and loves to do. And it's a great tool. So, I bought the first one cash, collateralized it with the bank, and then basically operate, and I still do today, is operate what we call real estate lines of credit. And so every time I buy something, I buy it for what I buy it for. I put the value into it that we can put into it, and then take it back to the bank, collateralize it, get your money back out. And hopefully you continually grow that spread, and continually pull cash out, buy more and buy more and buy more.
Gotcha. So are you actually doing like refinances at that point, or is it just pulling out the equity lines of credit from the properties?
What we'll do is I'll put it, and it'll grow the line of credit, and I'll take the line of credit to a point where, it's kind of, whether it be from a liability standpoint, or just, hey, let's just term this and let it go cycle, put whatever it is, 10, 15, 20 properties, or, we try and go to about $2 million and then term out. Gotcha.
Okay. That makes sense. And so at what point did you kind of crank it up and start moving and make it into a real business and turn things around and really start, focusing on more larger commercial or multifamily? I know you still do the single family stuff, right? But
we still do. Yeah. Still do. It's, where we started the business and where I lived for the past 18 years or whatever it was. It's a small town. We got a good network there. It's a small college, tons of rentals, always have a market there. We've got all the systems in place as far as the management and the maintenance crews and everybody that can take care of stuff. So it's kind of on autopilot. So I'm definitely not going to turn something down in that realm. Now focus more on multifamily now. And that was kind of just a byproduct again. And my last job, I was in industrial sales, drove probably 50,000 miles a year. So I had lots of podcast time, and, started listening to podcasts and, if you don't know what you're looking at in multifamily, you're like, oh, well, I can do better on houses. But when you get into it and you really learn how they're valued and learn how to scale and the forced appreciation, things like that, it's a whole different ballgame. So that's when, but made the full-time switch in 2018. We had a tornado come through town and do a lot of damage in Jacksonville. So me and my partner went through and just started, between the agents that we knew and, different friends in town, people would want to sell their house as is and get out of it. And they would, so we would let them keep their insurance money. We would buy the house as is, fix it up. And we really were able to build that line of credit and get a lot of value. That way we could move into the bigger deal. So that was kind of when it went full time for me, was after that.
Gotcha. Yeah. Year. So definitely helps having that construction background, right? And enjoying, and I think your partner, right, he has more of a hands-on builder experience.
We're probably both do.
Both do. Okay.
Yeah. We do a lot of that. So
not afraid to get your hands dirty.
No. Now, and that's fun. That was a lot of fun. When I started, I was, I would go take some beer over to a house and start working on it. And when I started drinking more beer than I was doing work, I would just pack it up and go home. So, doing it, that's not really efficient though. It's great for a part-time gig, but now it's more, there's not a whole lot of work we do. A lot of what we do is riding around and pointing at stuff and chasing contractors around. That's the bulk of the task.
Gotcha. So you've created systems, you have, the right people doing the right things, and then you can scale. I mean, that's really what any business is about, right? How can you find the right people, the right systems, and then you can just scale that. Exactly. And it takes time. It takes a lot of lumps and a lot of money and a lot of people. Yeah.
Screwing you over, to find those good contractors out there. And that's what I'm kind of trying to do, the same thing I did in Jacksonville down in Mobile now. And I'm just roll through contractors, man. But we're getting some good ones now. Yeah,
I imagine. I mean, it's that way in every location all over the place. It's a notorious profession, unfortunately. And there are endless amounts of horror stories.
Absolutely.
And it's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of strange that there hasn't been some sort of like reform or something. I don't know, like that we can. So many people will suffer from contractors.
Yeah, yeah. It's something very difficult, and it's something that I think a lot of people that are new that are getting into this kind of thing. If you don't have the capital to take a $3 or $4 or $5,000-$6,000 loss, when somebody walks on you and takes their money, or you don't have the construction knowledge to know when somebody's taking advantage of you, you can, those guys, they know it, and they will do it too.
It's crazy. And the problem is a lot of the great ones, or the really good ones, are booked, and you can't really get a hold of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I get nervous when somebody says they can come do a job for me. Like, wait a second, why not? Why aren't you working for somebody else?
Right. All right. So, you've done a bunch of deals over the years. I'd love to hear like a story, if you have any, of like a creative deal. Maybe it was an interesting deal. Maybe it was something that was you learned from a lesson, or maybe it was just something that was like really out of the box.
Yeah, I mean, we've done a lot of stuff. We've taken on, with the tornado stuff, that was interesting to see. Houses that really you would think they would be bulldozed, but once you get them open and get in there and completely reconstruct them, that was interesting. Probably my favorite creative deal that we've done. We bought a warehouse. It was an old church owned it. They just kind of kept a bunch of junk in it. There's another lady that had a bunch of junk in it. And so it's about a 20,000 square foot warehouse there in Jacksonville, Alabama. Not terribly far from the school, but so bought it, turned, we used the back part for storage, and then we're big into CrossFit up there. And so we actually built out a CrossFit gym in there, and they're
very cool.
They're interested in expanding now. So it's gone. It's taken a building that was just really a black eye for the community in the area, and completely facelifted, full parking lot, landscaping, cut roll-up doors in it, redid all the bathrooms, redid a lot of stuff in a building that probably never would have done anything. It would take a very unique use. And when we bought it, really didn't buy it for that. It just kind of happened. But it was also a good opportunity for the gym owner. He went from like 2,000 square feet in the shopping center to 7,500, and has been able to increase his membership by over double. And the community loves it, and it's just been a really neat thing to watch. We rebuilt and put him in there early last year, so we're going on a year and a half, and just to watch from going, I think he was at like 80 members to I bet he's over 200 now, and I bet he's got different classes and different type services that he's able to offer with that kind of space.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. That's really creative, because again, you take a building and there's a lot of potential there. You have no idea what to do with it. I mean, and then it just comes along. You see, maybe there's an opportunity. Maybe someone wants to lease the space, and you just make it beautiful. But what I love about that is that since you're in such a small community, you can really make a big impact. And I think, that makes a huge difference when you're local and you actually care about it, as opposed to someone who's just, it doesn't happen a lot of these small locations, but someone from out of state or out of the area just coming in and just buying a property, and just doing it, whatever. They don't really take too much into consideration about, what are their needs here? What can we not just do for this property, but what can we do for the community at large? So that's pretty cool.
Yep. Yeah. It's been really nice to watch and see, and actually feel like you are making a difference. And the funny thing is, the reason, again, we just bought it because it was really, really cheap. And actually, I got to give Adam the credit for this. We were talking about buying it, and I was like, no, what are we going to do with this thing? We have no idea. And he was like, what if we just use it as a bank account? So we knew that the building would appraise for way more than we bought it for. So when we bought it and when we appraised it and collateralized it, we automatically paid for everything at that point. So our intent really, when we originally bought it, was just because we could get money from the bank to invest in other stuff.
Right.
And so that was kind of the plan going in, and now it's turned into something else. But it's kind of a unique way to think about real estate, is you can actually buy something. You hear about all this, and I don't recommend running out to the nearest, real estate seminar, no money out of your pocket, sell fest that a lot of them are. But that kind of stuff, it's possible to happen. and create wealth out of thin air.
Yeah. It's true. It's so true. But you have to be like involved, right? I mean, you have to be there. Yeah. You have to see what the opportunities are. If you don't know the market, you don't know the city, you don't know what's there. I mean, yeah, of course you can just go buy, like I could go and buy, a property in the middle of nowhere, Alabama or whatever, for me, that is cheap. But what can I do with it? Like, I won't even know the next thing to do with it. So the fact that you have that local presence gives that. But anyone, wherever you are, if you have an opportunity and something is cheap and something is available, absolutely. There is value in just buying property and then figuring out what to do with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's always needs.
People too.
There's always needs. There's always, and it's just about being creative and trying to figure out what are their needs in this community and what can be filled and what are the opportunities.
Yeah, absolutely. And before we kind of landed on this and before this happened, we had looked at converting it to indoor storage and, trying to find maybe a cabinet shop or something. So there was a lot of stuff, that was kind of circling, like, what are we going to do with this? But yeah, what you said about being involved being the biggest thing, that's what I tell a lot of people when they, when they come to me, ask, like, oh, how do you get involved in real estate, or how did you do this? Or how did you do that? And it's like, if you just get involved, that kind of stuff happens. If you're talking to people, if you're networking, if you're active in the community, in the area, something's going to come up where you can take advantage of it and get to that point. So that's what I always tell them, just get involved somehow, whether that's making, talking to realtors and making lowball offers because you're scared. At least you're making offers and you're overcoming that fear where when it is time to pull the trigger, you recognize that and know where to go.
Yeah, that's probably the best advice anyone. I mean, we call this wise advice, right? But that's probably the best advice, because just being involved in something, just spending the time, right? If you decide, okay, now I am doing the real estate thing, that's on my radar. That means you're going to start talking to more people about it. That means you're going to have conversations. You're going to try to reach out to brokers. You're going to try to reach out to lenders, and just having those conversations, things come up. Right? I mean, I met a broker and I wasn't even thinking about investing in a certain area, and they have resources, and they just kind of throw something out there like, whoa, okay, light bulb goes off, because you never would have thought about that. But it's just because of those conversations, those networking opportunities come your way.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And you finding those similar opportunities down in Mobile?
Yeah. So I've come down to Mobile a lot. Of course, I miss the Gulf Coast being from Houston, but I've been coming down to Mobile a lot in my previous job. And I like the area. And so, we kind of started looking, and it really, and just exactly to what you said, it was from a broker relationship. A guy I met who was a broker up in Huntsville, which is the very, far north part of Alabama. For whatever reason, he targeted Mobile and kind of kept putting stuff in front of me and finally bought one that made sense, and just kind of more and more. And so now, I've got several brokers down here that I talk to. That guy's still very active down here. We've hired an acquisitions guy to call direct to owners down here. So it's, to take kind of loop that into what we just said, just getting involved and just being active in this area has essentially shifted my entire, my location on the map. I've moved down here. We like the area, learned to, get involved. And so now this is where I'm focusing.
Yeah. And that's how the game, plays out, right? You see where opportunity awaits and you follow it. That's awesome. That's really exciting.
That's right.
I love the fact that I love to see these kind of stories, and, everyone has a different story, but love to see how these kind of take form and develop over time, just doing different things. And I think you told me, you're doing multifamily, also have a retail property, interested in other things, and, but still have the single family business, which is making money and is obviously doing well for you guys. So there's so many different ways to get involved, people. That's what I just tell everyone all the time, right? Just get involved, right? Just do something, right? Mm-hmm. Doesn't matter what. Take the first step and you'll figure the rest out. They say the law of the first deal, right? Just do a deal and everything else will kind of take form after that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You get a lot more credibility, and you get a lot more people's attention, when you're actually out there active and doing things. Awesome. So I'd love to, I know time flies over here, but I'd love to transition now to what we call the final four. These are 4 questions I ask all my guests. And, you can take these any which way you want. But the first question I have for you is going to be, what's the worst job that you ever had? The worst job ever. It's a pretty easy one. I worked for a buddy of mine's dad had a pesticide company and had a warehouse in Houston, and my job, the bottles that have the pre-made measure on it that you like take one lid off. It's got two caps on it. You take one lid off, squeeze the bottle, it fills it up, an ounce or whatever, and you dump it in your sprayer and spray for bugs or whatever it is. So my job was to put one of those two lids on. So I'd take one plastic bottle, one lid, throw it in another. And I don't know how many thousands of those I did, just sitting there freezing next to a heater in the winter. And so that was awful. That one didn't last long. I kind of moved on. I don't know what I did after that, but that was back in high school days. So I'm glad I'm away from that. I still think about that job.
A lot of people, their worst job is something they had, one of the first jobs they had in high school or something like that. I think we learn quickly what we don't like and then move on to something else.
Yeah. Best job ever, delivering pizzas. Anybody out there is interested?
Why is that? Why is that the best job ever? You get free pizza? What?
Yeah. Free pizza, man. Just mindless. It was great.
You get good tips. You ever get any good tips?
Yeah, made good money for being in high school, driving around. It was good.
That's funny. Okay, well, good to know. All right, so we got the worst job and the best job there. Got a bonus there. So next question for you, and what's a book you've read that's given you a paradigm shift?
That was, and I read it or I listened to it first and then read it, but 4-Hour Work Week. And a lot of people look at that book, and I think a lot of people go into that book maybe thinking that it's about one thing, thinking about that it's about not working, and that's not what it is. It's kind of what it did is it helped me get that mind shift of you don't have to be present on site doing something every day. You build these systems and these processes and these procedures where you're still working. You're still going to work a lot, if you want to be successful in the world, but that kind of that opens your eyes as to the way to do it. It's not necessarily having to be in one place at one time, for an extended period of time. So and I've given that book to people and made suggestions and stuff. And, I always preface it with, don't read this book thinking that you're only going to work 4 hours a week. You're going to work a lot more than that, but it's going to make you a lot more. It's going to open your eyes to that freedom that's available out there, especially now in the technology age.
Awesome. Yeah, that is a book that has had a lot of impact on a lot of people, myself included. So, but it's really about, like you said, it's not about working less necessarily. It's about working more focused and, just figuring out what it is that you love to do and you're making that happen.
Yeah. And blending that with your personal life and how can I get what I want out of my work life as well as, and mesh it with my personal life where I'm not sitting somewhere in one place. I can be at the beach, or I can be at a job site, or I can be, wherever you want to be, you can figure out how to make things happen and progress forward.
Right. And it's all comes back to, just enjoying what you do, right? If you don't enjoy what you do, then, working less is going to have a totally different meaning for you.
Exactly. Absolutely.
That's not what it's about. But yeah, that's awesome. So we're up to the third question, which is what's a skill or talent that you would like to learn?
Here recently, I've been around a lot of sailboats. I think sailing would be pretty cool. I think it would be, I've always loved the water and boating. But that would be a really cool experience, I think, to be able to sail and even do an extended long trip, whether it be to the Caribbean or something like that would be awesome. That'll probably change in a week, but right now it's
that's pretty cool. No, the Gulf Coast down there is the Gulf Shores in Alabama, very popular place, so got some good water down there, get some, do some sailing. That's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very cool. So fourth and final question for you is what does success mean to you?
I tie success to, a lot of freedom and financial freedom that comes to that. So, how can you, again, it gets back to the 4-hour work week and kind of what we talked about, how can you maximize your impact and your influence and your finances to open up your life where you don't have to clock in every day and show up to work or worry about where your next dollar coming from, or your next paycheck. So that's kind of what that means to me, is to be free in time and finances.
Very cool. Yeah. Everyone's got their own definition, but they all seemingly come together with a lot of common themes over there. But I appreciate that. And last and finally, I'd like to ask everyone, where can our listeners find you or reach out to you?
Got a little bit of social media. I'm not real big on the social media on the real estate side, but I do have Facebook, just my name. And then, you can go to our website, www.scig.us. It's got some past projects, information about me, my partners. You kind of see what we've done. We've got a Facebook page for the SCI Group as well. And we don't do a good job, but every once in a while we'll post something on that. So yeah, that's kind of where I hang out at. Or
all right.
Mobile. You can come down to Mobile and
come down to Mobile, Alabama. You got it.
Yeah.
If I come down there, that I'm going to look you up. That's no question.
Come on.
No question about it. That's awesome. Yeah. I've yet to, one of the states I have not yet visited would be Alabama. So it's
you're not missing a ton.
Not missing a lot. Okay. Well, I might consider then. Well, anyways, it's been a pleasure. It's been great speaking with you, Josh. Thanks so much for taking the time. And, just to wish you much continued success.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And we'll be talking again soon. You guys do a lot for us. So I appreciate it.
Happy to help. Yeah, anytime. And to our listeners, thank you again for joining us on another awesome episode. And remember, until next time, the best advice comes only when you ask. Real quick, I have one question for you. Did you like this episode? If you did, I want to ask you a huge favor. See, the biggest thing that helps this podcast grow and that will spread this message to the whole world is that if you leave a review, a rating, and subscribe to the podcast. What that does is it basically tells the platforms that this podcast is out on is that you like my stuff and I'm doing something right. So take a few seconds out of your day, hit that subscribe button, leave a rating or review. I would be extremely grateful. Also, I want to hear from you guys. So I want to hear some feedback. If you have any questions for future episodes, please find me on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, a connection request, Yona Weiss, and I'd love to hear from you.